on the plane and not even being able to lift my arms. I went home for 3 weeks to see my family, and I was in bed for most of that time, and I was throwing up and I was ill and I just hated my life and I didn't know what I was going through. I had no clue what was going on.
And a guy came out from their house, and instead of having a polite conversation, I went nuclear, and I was just shaking with rage at this point, right? Then the guy's kids came to the window and looked at me, and it was then I realised that I'd become this monster from being the sensitive kid that I was, that really cared about people, really wanted to help people, to becoming this, what I thought was positive, strong alpha male, but actually I totally lost connection with that empathy, and I just become angry all the time.
I was halfway through a day of just working for a client. I got an email from a manager and I just burst out crying. I was at home and I was just crying, and I didn't know why, and I didn't know how to take it, and I had to take like 10 minutes away from my computer and just kind of sit there and let it out. And it was one of those emotional responses that you don't know where it comes from, and then you realize, okay, something is wrong. Like, this isn't a normal thing to be experiencing.
In hindsight now, I realized that I was burnt out, but I rode that wave for probably 2 years.
You know, you hear about mental health problems and people have mental health issues and things that are diagnosed at the doctors, but you don't realize that mental health is actually a sliding scale, the same as physical health. There's some days that you're going to wake up and you're not going to feel your best self, and there are other days where you feel like you're ready to jump out of bed and, you know, get ready for the day. And I'd never really looked into that side of things before.
So the symptoms of burnout for me were probably being constantly tired. So it didn't matter how much time I spent in bed, I never felt like I was rested enough. Started having panic attacks because I was so focused on probably that 1980s Rocky style mentality of you can be the best by pushing. At that point I realised that something had to change. I had to figure out a different way of finally actually getting that work-life balance.
Having gone through it and had no idea that that's what I was going through. I had an idea, but it's not something you can say to a friend over coffee, oh, sorry, I think I'm really burnt out. Because they will look at you and think, like, what are you saying? Because there's almost like a stigma attached to it that, you know, how dare you say that you're stressed? How dare you say that you're overworked?
I was quite used to experiencing that. I thought that was what everybody had. You know, maybe it was just the setup of my desk and that was where my mouse and computer were, but actually it was a manifestation of the emotional side, the stress that was in my head coming out into my body.
It's a mindset, like you put yourself in a space where that's where you're going because you're completely working against how your vehicle's made.
It's understanding it's an issue, it's knowing it when it comes, knowing that we're in that situation where we do need to kind of, how to explain this, take our foot off the gas and actually start taking care of ourselves.
I now know what the symptoms are of stress in myself and my body. And since being part of the Reignite project, I've been able to manage my stress in a much better, healthier way.
I'm so much calmer and have space and I can breathe.
Even though there's a saying, no man is an island, each one of us tries to kid ourselves that we can do everything on our own. And actually, it's that sharing aspect that allows us to kind of process things and realise we're not alone and give ourselves a bit more of a break.
It's really about understanding yourself as an individual and what that means. And from that, then knowing how to manage. So burnout isn't a feature. It's just something that you may be aware of.
I'm able to get up each day and enjoy what I'm doing and actually look forward to both the challenges but also the fun parts of my job.